Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. I think always good. Right on, Phyllis. Thanks for being with me. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
All is well. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? How did you knew that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living, please.
I do many things, so there's a story there. So I think,
Awesome.
yeah, I'll answer two questions in one. 50 years ago, I started a business with my husband, and that was the car service. So we started with a $1,200 investment in my kitchen, and we grew it into 11 locations. We're worldwide. I've got an office in London, an office in LA, an office in um, Vegas, Atlanta, New York, two offices in New York, one in Long Island, and Boston. We have offices in Chicago, Miami, DC. There's a bunch of them. So we have a number of people who work for us, and unfortunately, I lost my husband 6 years ago, and now I'm the CEO of the company. I work with my family. My brother is the CFO. My two sons, one is the president, one's the COO. So we run the company together, and we provide ground transportation primarily for the film industry all over the world. So that's my day job. Then I'm also when I had lost my mom was the original CFO of the company. We were best friends. When I lost my mom, I started writing as a way to deal with grief, and I've written and published 83 books. Um,
Wow.
yeah, one of my books is currently a bestseller on Amazon. It's a joke book for children, and I write and I publish under three different names. And then when I lost my husband, I had always gone to mediums. I had always gone and visited mediums, and they told me you could do this yourself. So during the pandemic, I actually studied under about 15 different mediums. And when the pandemic ended, I realized that I could do this myself. So we opened up a company called Lady Phyllis, and I write books as Lady Phyllis, and I teach. I have three different classes, and I do readings. I do about 30 to 40 readings per month. So I'm a
I can
pretty
see
big,
the pillow.
yeah. Oh yeah, one of my friends made it for me. But I'm pretty busy. I do it all. I promote our books. I service my son's momager. He writes, and so I promote his books. And right now he's got a film. They're making one of his books into a film. So
That's pretty interesting. And I've noticed something over the years because I'm talking to people from all over the world,
mhm.
every corner, which is strange because the earth is round. So I don't know why we're still using every corner. But yeah, as long as you stay busy, you kind of staying younger. You know what I
Uh,
mean? I've
yes,
seen men, like men specifically. I don't think I know that much about women regarding that aspect, but I've seen physically very, very strong men, tremendously strong. And once they retire and they just do nothing all day, they deteriorate for 5 years more than they've deteriorated for the 50 years they had. You know, I think the human body is basically not designed by God to just stay there and do nothing.
I happen to agree with you. And I think keeping busy is a secret to staying young and relevant. So I just turned 70 this weekend. Last weekend was my,
Happy birthday.
yeah, it was my birthday. Thank you. And I'm busier than I've ever been before. And I like it. Before I came here, I was at work in my office. I have an office, and there's about 15 people who work there. And I did what I had to do. And I was up at 5:30 this morning doing social media stuff. So, I'm teaching a class tonight. I have a meeting, a one-on-one meeting with one of my students after this. So I think you're right. I have a yoga lesson. I have a yoga class at 2 o'clock. So yeah, I think keeping busy is the key to.
You ever considered going to space as an astronaut? Because I didn't saw that one on your resume.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Have you considered going to space as an astronaut?
Oh, no, no, I don't like heights. So that's, but I like to look at the stars at night. I'll stargaze with my grandchildren. So, right now, when Venus comes up, I call them and we observe Venus from my back door. But you also have to make time for the kids and family and to do fun things. We'll be going to Disney World in a few weeks. I'm going with all my kids and my grandchildren. So you have to have fun too.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely do. Um, my third question, because you kind of covered both of the first one. My third question is, how did you knew that this was the way to go? Reason I'm asking is because I'm sure you've noticed that too. We have a lot of that in Europe. I'm pretty sure you have that over there too. People go to universities, into colleges with that mindset that once they have the diploma and the degree, things will be way easier and they won't be having that much of a trouble. They won't have a lot of problems. That's not necessarily true. It's been a long time since the last time this was true, you know? And when you graduate something that's not for you and then you work something related to that thing that again not for you, people end up being miserable. Now, I'm not even talking about money. Like education in Europe is very, very, affordable, to put it that way. I know that that may not be the case in the United States. Sometimes it may not be, but things like for example, I graduated in Denmark. It was free. So, but I knew what I wanted to do, and a
Yeah.
lot of my colleagues didn't, and it's a loss of time, and it's a very serious problem if you really think about it. For a young person to lose about 4 or 5 years, that's quite a while, quite a lot. And
Um,
you you did say that yeah, you had the money to invest 50 years ago, and it went from there. But fairness, back then things were different. You could have invested in any number of things, and you could have been successful in any number of things. Not only that, it's basically a family business. You have the closest people to you are in your life and in your work life. That's tremendous. So you could have went to any direction, and with the writing, obviously you have the talent. I'd struggle to write 83 sentences, let alone 83 books. But the fact that you did it means that, again, that's a talent that you have within you. So how did you knew that this was the way?
you don't, and that's the problem. Listen, you may love Star Wars when you're 15, and then when you're 26 and you watch Star Wars, you go, how could I have even liked that? So
Keep in mind
I
that there are Star Wars books from that side and a lightsaber over here.
well, yeah, I'm a Star Wars
I'm messing.
groupie.
Don't
Yeah.
worry.
No, but it's like that's what comes to mind because
I
that's
know.
what my sons love. And and I love it. But the point is your taste changed. Like when I
Yeah.
was a young kid, I read romance books. And then when I got older, I didn't want to read romance books. So when I told my sons that they had to bring home a practical degree. And between them, they have 5 degrees. They took many degrees. But
Oh,
the point is, they knew that they were going to be in the business. They knew, but I said to them they had to have an alternative. I studied to be a teacher. I was a social studies teacher, and my husband was an immigrant, and he had trouble with English, and he asked me if I would stay home and run the back office because he couldn't do that end of it. And so that's how I ended up doing that. But I love teaching. And here I am teaching mediumship 50 years later, I'm back. But, I tell kids that when I do talk to them, just because you take a course of study doesn't mean that that's what you have to do for the rest of your life. Here, I took social studies teaching, education,
yeah.
secondary, which would be junior high. Well, back then it was called junior high. Now it's middle school to high school. I took that. I didn't even get a job. I was substituting. There were no jobs available. And I went into a family business. But whatever I learned in school helped because I designed a special dispatch sheet that wasn't around. I created, however, I did lesson plans. I took that information and applied it to business. Then when I started writing, one of the series I did was If You Were Me and Lived In, and I took 22 countries around the world, and I put children in their shoes. If you were me and lived in France, what kind of food would you eat? What kind of money? What would you call mom? What would you call dad? Where would you go? Where would you take a visitor? Where would you live? So I did a series for kids. Was that, relevant to my education? Yes, but I didn't have to work for 50 years as a teacher. I have friends who graduated and they're retiring now as teachers, and that's fine too. Some of
Yeah.
them end up becoming guidance counselors or principals. I have a best friend who's the principal of her school. She rose from being a speech therapist in her school to ending up running the school. So just because you take a course, let's say in architecture, doesn't mean that maybe you're going to end up being a builder. Maybe you're going to end up teaching architecture. Maybe you're going to take that and end up becoming a historian on architecture. So don't think that you're stuck. And it's never a waste. Education of any kind is not a waste because somewhere, somehow, you're going to use it. So I learned how to write books. I learned how to market books. I didn't go to school for that. I market over 100 books on the internet and on Amazon. So
Send me the link for all of them.
say it again.
Send me the link for the books.
Oh, I will. I will. I'll
Just
send
make sure they're like related to the author, because if I put 100 links, YouTube will kill me.
Oh, okay. I'll send you the links to our books.
Yeah, please
But
do.
the point is, I took that knowledge and then I did a course last week where I said, learn how to write, publish, and market your book. And I used that information. I monetized it. I also monetized it by writing a book called Navigating Indie World. I wrote that book, maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago with a marketing person. I did Marketing Indie World and Navigating Indie World because I had the knowledge. So I published a book on how to sell your books.
When did you wrote your first book?
My first book I wrote in 2012. I was really mourning the loss of my mother. We used to go to the ballet. We spent all of our free time together. And my husband was stricken with lung cancer. So it was the kind of thing that we couldn't go places. I was taking care of him. So my sons came to me and they said, write a book, Mom. And I said, I can't. And they said, start small, write a children's book. So I wrote a book called Captain No Beard, An Imaginary Tale of a Pirate's Life. And it was based on playtime with my grandson. And so I wrote the book, and then I jumped into that because they set me up on, it was Create Space back then. Now it's KDP. And I got involved with the illustrator and, where on the pages I made a lot of mistakes, but I was busy with it, with the
Yeah.
project. The book got published, and Amazon chose to include it in the Christmas special, and then it was named to Kirkus's Reviews Best of 2012. So I got a call from my mentor at CreateSpace, and he said, "You're not going to believe it. You were named to Kirkus's Best, which is like an Oscar for
That's amazing.
it was amazing." And my husband said to me, "You've got to do it. You won an award. You really, you've got to do this." So I just started publishing. I would write 5 books in one weekend. They're not huge,
Yeah.
but I do have, if you like Star Wars, you'd like this one. This is Grady Will and the Templeton Codex. It's kind of like
Okay.
Percy Jackson and Harry Potter rolled into one. So
Ah,
yeah,
that's
and this actually has script in Hollywood they're trying to sell.
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Give me the link for that one as well.
yeah, I will. I will.
I
So
Yeah, go on.
yeah, so to me, it's like if something suits me and I'm interested, I then decide that I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn what to do with it.
That's pretty good. Now I'm an Orthodox Christian, so we have this belief that talent is from God, and that's why once you discover your talent, you're walking a path already written for you. And this is why it's easy, because you're following something somebody gave you already. So yeah, I think you definitely have it in you. Otherwise, nobody can force you to write 83 books.
Well, the thing is, I sort of agree with you, and I think a lot of times, whether you call it God or the source, the universe, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
I'm all in on that because I believe that some of these books, when I reread them, I can't believe I wrote it, and I think that it's a form of automatic. As I learned about mediumship, I've learned that this is a form of automatic writing. You're getting a download from somewhere and it's coming out of you. Otherwise, how could I write? I mean, this book is an adventure. I've written books that I don't know where it's coming from. It's not anything in my experience.
I've heard that before. I can't explain it. Nobody can explain it. Nobody that I know of. I'm pretty sure there's some big brains out there, but I totally believe you because I know exactly what you mean. Normally, I have a fourth question that I never list, but I
Sure.
have one more sub question because your story is pretty interesting. You've been running the business, family business for 50 years. That's tremendous. I know it's a general question, so don't think of specific answer. What qualities should an employee have to be working for you and to be thriving in your business?
It's an interesting question, and I'll explain something to you. Years ago, when we bought a building in Astoria, Queens, to house our cars, my mother, my brother, my husband, and I, we brought in a bunch of kids from the neighborhood who were on welfare. You know what welfare is. They were getting they had dropped out of school. Many of them, were unwed parents. They had kind of interrupted their lives, and we brought them in and we all decided that we were going to teach them. And so today, many of these people are vice presidents in my company. Some of them have moved on and they've gotten other jobs with other people. Most of them got their diplomas. This afforded them the confidence to pursue their dreams. And I'm really
So the,
proud.
the office in Queens was the first office, right?
That was, I operated out of my house and then we bought an office in Queens.
Okay.
And now I have an office in Long Island where
Because
I
that's
go.
amazing all that time, those people that started then and are
Right.
still with you. That's
An average person, in fact, today I was meeting with one of the girls. She's getting married. I want to say she's in her upper 30s, but she started with me when she was 16. I have one of my managers in New York began when he was 19 and he's now a senior VP. So so the oldest employees are with me 45 years. So what's the quality? Don't be afraid to admit you made a mistake. Nobody's going to beat you up. We learn from mistakes. Mistakes are
yeah.
good because that's how you learn what not to do. Um, come in, don't be late. Don't call in constantly and dump your work on somebody else. I've had people that, they show up late. You're part of a team. So if you come in late or you don't finish your work or you don't communicate what needs to be done because my business is 24/7. So if you're
Oh.
not communicating to the person who's relieving you, things go wrong. And it could cost me $1 million account. So I ask people to maintain communication, but most importantly, if they don't like something, I want them to come to me and tell me, because we have protocols put in place to fix the problems, and it's all about communication. But if I often tell people, if you don't like what you're doing, this is what you're doing, and if you find something, look elsewhere, find something that you have passion, because this is going to take up the bulk of your life. So look to have fun with your life, look to enjoy. And I've had people that started out as shredders, paper shredders, and they're now senior VPs within the company. Or I've had people who started out as an airport rep and they now have their own city and they manage, 50 people. So the point is, if they come willing to learn, um, and work and be part of this family, and I feel like my company is a family, there's nothing I won't do for them.
That's amazing. I worked for about I think I had a half a year or something like that, 24/7 center. And we had it specifically designed like that. Like your shift starts half an hour, it covers for half an hour with the person that's relieving you. That way you can sit next to the person, you can be told what happened during the shift, what didn't happen, what to focus, what not to focus, because there are issues that can be ignored up until 24, 48 hours, depends on the issue. So yeah, that's super important. And I've seen what happens when this isn't covered, and there are a lot of problems. Now, the fourth question, you did kind of cover that again. Uh, but my program is mostly focused for people that, as you said, aren't sure if they're in the right place. Is this education for me? Is this job for me? Am I happy here? What am I doing? Am I losing my time? If you can give those people one advice, what will it be?
There's nothing is a waste of time. Like you said, there's divinity in writing, that you get a message. There's divinity in everything we do. Yeah, I mean, I feel it's divinity, but if they want to say it's the universe or it's whatever, I have no problem with that. But there is nothing that's a waste of, even if you're sitting on TikTok and scrolling, there's nothing wrong with that because you're absorbing something that may be useful later on.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, let's put it this way, when I go to the grocery store and I come back, I roll my paper bag up and I put it away. I don't waste it. Why
yeah,
don't I waste it? Because I may need that bag when I'm running to the office and I want to throw things in it, or maybe I have sloppy garbage, trash, and I want to put it in my big trash can, but I don't want it leaking everywhere. So nothing's wasted. So, everything is significant to your
I
life.
did
So
the same thing, and I had a girlfriend at the time. She called me cheap.
well, no, it's not, there's not, because you're being careful. You're
I
being
know.
you're being present, um you're being uh you know mindful of the fact that you may need that one day. So if somebody's in school and they feel that this subject is not for them, you know, look elsewhere, but don't throw it away because it led you to this point. Babies, when they first have to learn how to,
Yeah.
suck on a bottle, and then they have to learn how to sit up, and then they have to learn how to crawl, and then they have to learn how to stand. Like there's a set method to everything. And if one of those things get skipped, what we've learned is it affects them later on in learning. So if you're going through college and you're not happy, that's something you had to do because you might have still been doing something else and thinking, well, I really wanted to be a nurse. So you take it and you go, that's not for me. But who knows? Maybe you're going to go into Reiki, and that nursing background is going to help you with Reiki, or
Yeah, you
whatever it is.
never know.
Yeah, you never know. But information is never wasted. And you may be guided on this path, but maybe you have to take this path in order to get to um, the next leaping, the next lily pad where you have to leap onto it, like
I,
frogs, leap
I
on the
think
lily.
it was Lev Wandal. He was a Jewish Russian, one of the main scientists that created the hydro bomb. And that's what one of his mottos, that there is no such thing as a useless information.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
He was a very wise man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that said, fellas, huge thanks for being with me. I really appreciate it. Again, sorry for repeating myself. Send me all of the links, all of the 300 links about your business, about your books, about everything that you do, LinkedIn, Facebook, everything, because I want to put it in the description below so that people can check them out.
Thank you very much. It was nice meeting you.
Likewise. Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.